My name is Sheila Michaels. I want to welcome you to our first virtual job fair. I'm actually an HR analyst here in the Human Resources Department. I have been with the city of Clarksville for just over 16 years now. Started as a generalist, and at that time was pretty much the only one in the department that had their hands in multiple facets of HR. Most of my colleagues then and now are specialized in a specific area. So prior to coming to the city, I did recruiting, and that's kind of how I ended up in this role that I have now. It's not my only focus, but it is one of my main focuses. So I am one of the individuals that reviews every single application that we receive outside of those for gas and water. And then it's my job to interact with the departments and try to make sure that they make the best hire. I am not involved in the selection piece, but all of the recruiting piece. So if you've ever applied for a job and seen my name, now you have a face to go with it. As I've said today, and you may not be aware if you jumped on a little bit after that, today is going to be very informal. It's not scripted. We're just going to flow. We will have hosts from each department that's participating that will tell you a little bit about themselves and their role. And then they're going to open it up for questions. They can tell you what positions that they have open, what it's like to work for their department, because each department has, you know, we're all city of Clarksville, but each has a little bit of an individual culture or how things work. We are a little bit more informal at HR than say the street department would be, just because of the number of employees that we have. So we have a street department participating today, and then we'll move to transit, gas and water, parks and recreation, fire, and police. You are able to jump in and out of the sessions. There's no requirement that you have to stay for an entire session or that you have to be in for each session. So you're going to make this specific to what your needs are and what you want to hear about. We will have a couple of minutes in between sessions just to transition, and if there's something that those of us that are on all day have to take care of in the meantime. So you are welcome. There are 10-minute breaks in between. You're welcome to just continue to hang out, or if you need to hop off and hop back on, that's fine as well. So all of you are muted right now. You do not have to raise your hand to speak. We just ask that if you have a question or a comment, that you go ahead and unmute yourself and make sure that you're not speaking over the person that's talking. So as soon as they stop talking, you're welcome to ask your question. And then once you have asked your question, go ahead and mute yourself back up. Just because the microphones, they pick up, even when you think it's silent, they're picking up background noises, and it makes it a little bit distracting for others. As soon as I finish talking, I will mute myself as well, so you don't hear the construction that's going on outside. Also, if you don't want to verbally ask your question and you have a question that you want to put in the chat, you can do that. I will be monitoring the chat, and then I will read those questions so those that are answering them don't have to navigate the chat and speaking with you. And we are going to record the sessions, as you've heard from IT. They will be on the website within the next couple of days. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to house them yet, but it will more than likely be on the home page or within the HR section. So if you were interested in other sections, but you didn't get to stay on, or you missed something, want to hear something again, if all goes well, then the recordings will be available and you can just go back at your leisure and hear what you may have missed. And I think that is all of the housekeeping that I have. I do want to introduce one of my colleagues, Tessa Jones. She actually was on the call before me. Thank you very much. Tessa is my counterpart, and she does all of the recruiting for gas and water department. So that is her area of expertise. But we are able to back each other up in case something unforeseen happened and I had to be out unexpectedly. She can fill in on my role and vice versa. So I'm going to turn it over to Tessa and let her tell you a little bit about her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa Jones, like Sheila said, and I'm an HR analyst for the city of Clarksville. My previous experience is with state the state of Tennessee. I worked in HR for them for about 4 years until I came along to the city of Clarksville. I've been with the city for a little over a year, working on my second year. And like Sheila said, I currently serve gas and water as their HR analyst. I do a lot of the recruitment as well as the benefits, compensation, employee relations, basically most of the HR work for gas and water. So if you are interested in gas and water positions, I'll see you on that call later today, but I'll also be on all of the other ones to assist Sheila with this process. Like she said, I am her backup. And so if there's anything that, anytime that she's out of the office, you can always reach out to me and I would be happy to help. We thank you for your time for being on this call today. And I think at this point, we can go ahead and open it up, answer any questions about our recruiting and selection process, and then just go from there. What do you say, Sheila?
Sounds good. So are there any specific questions that you have about the process, or would you like me to just go over the process? All right. So basically, we post a position, we get what we call a CRF, or candidate requisition form, from the departments. And on that form, they have told us not only the position that they want to recruit, but if they have anything special that they want with that recruitment. They can tell us that maybe, depending on what the position is, that they will want to see every qualified applicant. They may want to see the top 3, the top 5, the top 10. Sometimes based on the position, there'll be other requirements. For dispatchers, say, for example, they're required to have a typing test along with their application. So if there are any special instructions, they will give us that on the requisition form. That is why, depending on the position, there are some positions that we literally may have 300 or 400 applicants. And there are going to definitely be a wealth of qualified applicants, but you can imagine that not every single one of the qualified applicants is going to get an interview. So that's why sometimes people will say, can you tell me what I did wrong, or what can I do to help my chances with that? It's not necessarily that you did anything wrong. It's just that there's the sheer volume of applications prohibits us from interviewing everyone. So once the position's posted, it's going to run at least 5 business days. It may be longer. The department will tell us that on the requisition. If it's something that we don't know how long it would take for a qualified pool, maybe a more specialized position or harder to fill, then you will usually see that as on as continuous. We try to put a date at least 5 business days out, so you'll know that, okay, if at all possible, I need to get my application in by that date, because thereafter, as soon as the department tells us we're good, take the posting down, then it's going to come down at that moment. So you want to make sure that you don't miss out, because if we do not have the job posted anymore, we cannot accept your application or resume. And that's another thing. For all of our city jobs, you have to apply through the NeoGov. You can't send us your resume. You can't send us any other documents. It has to go through that NeoGov site. So once we get the applications, we do review every single application. How detailed that's going to be will depend on what the department has asked for. So if they tell me that they want every single qualified application, then I don't have to worry about picking out the tops. I just have to make sure that they meet the minimum qualifications, and then that's going on. If they want the top, then I'm going to be looking very closely for that. First and foremost, for your education and experience, does that match the job description? And then from there, I'm going to look at, how recent your experience is, how much you have. Are there inconsistencies between your resume and your application, which we see all the time? Have you, updated your experience? If you've used the same profile for multiple jobs and you have, I've been at this place from this date to present. I've been at that date at the next place from another date to present. And then the other, those are things that, if we're going for the best of the best, may hurt you, because I have no idea of knowing when did you end this position, when did you start this one, And that may be important for me to make sure that you have the minimum required experience. So be mindful of that. But once we go through and we get the applications and they're ready to be sent to the hiring department, we will do that. I'll back up, you do get a notification from the system itself when you submit your application. It's just a pop-up, hey, we've got your application, it's been received. Once you get that, you can be assured that your application was received. But then after that, once Tessa and I have physically looked at the application, we'll go ahead and send you an email that specifically tells you, hey, we've received your application. I don't know about Tessa, but for me, because I'm doing other things other than the recruiting, and I'm doing it for multiple departments, I may just go ahead and send you that email just to let you know the application's been filled, but I haven't really screened your application yet. So sometimes there may be a lag between that and when I let you know that your application's gone to the hiring department, if it does. So don't be alarmed if you don't, get a second email right away. But once I have screened your application and know that it's going to be sent to the hiring department, I will then send you another email that lets you know that. So after you get that email saying that your application's been sent to the hiring department, then I'm pretty much out of the loop until they let me know they've made a selection. From there, the hiring department will contact you directly if they want to set up an interview or a second interview. They'll do the interviews, they'll make their selection. Once they've made the selection, they'll let me know. And at that time, anybody that was not interviewed, no matter how many applications there are, then you will get a courtesy email letting you know the position's been filled. That's how things typically work, but there are asides from that. If it's a position that is we're continually hiring for, say, bus operator, some of the grounds positions, you will not get that email necessarily to let you know the position's been filled, because your application may still be considered down the line. I would just recommend, if it's been more than 90 days, go ahead and drop another application in. So I think that's pretty much the process. We're getting close to when we need to bring street department on, but I want to turn it over to Tessa and see if she has anything else to add, or if she does anything a little bit differently at gas and water. Okay.
I do everything just about the same way that you do. It just depends on my workload as to when you would receive your emails from me, whether that's the generic email that says we've received your application. One thing that I might do that's a little bit different from Sheila for gas and water positions specifically, I do send the email that the position has been filled once we receive all of the pre-employment testing from the candidate that was extended a job offer. So that you might receive that a little bit later than what Sheila would normally send it. And I just do that basically as a courtesy, just in case some pre-employment testing does not pan out. They will still hire from that list that they were working from. So, but other than that, I work the exact same way Sheila does. You'll receive a generic email from me once I have received your application. It does not mean that I've necessarily reviewed it, but I have received it. So rest assured, you do not need to reapply. And then once I review your applications, if you meet the minimum qualifications and I send your application on to the hiring manager, you will receive an email letting you know that as well. Does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm glad Tessa mentioned it's not necessary to do multiple applications. The only time that you want to send a second application is if, I have more experience that's related to the position and I forgot to put it on, then yes, update your application and send it. But outside of that, multiple applications, it does not enhance your chances of receiving a position. It's going to be based on your experience and education. So we're right a little bit over, so I want to go ahead and introduce the representatives that we have from the street department. We have Scott Bibb and Chris Cowan. And if you gentlemen will tell a little bit about yourself and your tenure at the department, because I know you've both been there for a good amount of time, and then just a little bit about working for your department and then the positions you have open, and open it up for questions. If you have questions anytime while they're still speaking, you can either just wait, unmute yourself when they're finished, or you can go ahead and type it in the chat, and I will try to monitor that and then let them know what those questions are.